It's big dog season, and you can't stay still because you want it. Talk that talk, George. You still scraping your plate because you're hungry. Talk that talk.
Joining us now, New York Times opinion columnist David French. So the title of your column today, David, is Donald Trump is already starting to fail. How so?
Yeah. So if you look at these picks, these cabinet picks, and, you know, we went through the scandals there. The scandals are considerable. But if you actually look at the cabinet picks, a number of the key picks, from Tulsi Gabbard to Pete Hegseth to Matt Gaetz to RFK Jr., these are not picks you make when you're planning to govern well. And there are two very important communities of people here if we're talking about Trump support. There's the 17 million. These are the people who voted for him in the primary. This is core MAGA. They love the Gaetz pick, many of them. They love the Hegseth pick because they see Trump as a wrecking ball. But there's the 76 million. These are the people who voted for him in the general election. And an awful lot of those people didn't vote for wrecking balls. They didn't vote for chaos. They were voting for less inflation, for example, or they were voting for a more controlled border. In other words, they were voting for competence. Now, a lot of viewers would say voting for competence, Trump, but they remember a period from 2017 to 2019 that was perhaps more calm. And so when Trump is nominating people that communicate chaos more than competence, or vengeance more than governance, what he's doing is he's demonstrating that he hasn't heard the 76 million, that he's still listening to the 17 million, that core part of his base. And that is a recipe for failure, because across the Western world, across the developed world, when governments focus on their culture war pet issues, they get tossed out. And they're asking for people to come in and focus on the big stuff. And this is why we see this back and forth all over the world.
The world has changed so much in the past few years, especially with the distribution of information. We talk about this a lot. Not everyone's getting accurate information, reliable information, fact-based reporting. They're getting information through a podcast host who has an opinion, or they're getting information through a meme, or they're just not getting any information at all. I wonder how the Democrats take the chaos that could be to come and convey it to the public. How does the public see what's happening beyond their daily lives? Are they even hearing about Matt Gaetz as a completely controversial pick? Are they hearing about Tulsi Gabbard and her support of Bashar al-Assad, or Vladimir Putin? Are they getting that information? Does the world that we've all come to know and the consequences that we've all relied on in the past, do they still apply?
Well, the short answer to your question, are a lot of these people getting that information? Absolutely not. I mean, if you look at the Trump vote by where people got their information, he lost overwhelmingly amongst people who, for example, get their information from newspapers. He won overwhelmingly amongst people who don't consume political media at all. And that's something that a lot of people forget. A lot of these Trump voters have zero knowledge about a lot of these scandals and things that dominate Twitter for days on end. They just don't know. So what do they vote on? They vote on the conditions on the ground as they perceive them. Now, why is that a danger for Trump? Well, if he doesn't govern well, the conditions on the ground in their lives will not be better. You know, if he does his tariffs, there will be more inflation. If he does mass deportations, there will be more inflation and a lot of chaos in their communities. The sad thing, though, Katie, the sad thing is the fact that they were warned about that is irrelevant for them because they didn't hear the warning. They didn't pay attention. But when the consequences occur, they react to the consequences. And so that's just it's a problem for our country, because what ends up happening is, even though you warn of consequences, you point out that they're coming, a lot of people never hear the warning, and you actually have to experience the negativity before the change comes. And you hate to say that's the way it goes, but it reminds me of like what Churchill said about democracy. It's the worst form of government other than every other form, because sometimes democracies make big, serious mistakes before they right the ship.
It is an exhausting cycle. Let's focus on Matt Gaetz for just one more moment. Do you believe that if Matt Gaetz becomes AG, and the Republicans do hold recess appointments, or most of them fall in line and say yes, do you think that he's going to be doing political prosecutions? I mean, there's reporting that DOJ officials, former and current, are lawyering up out of fear that Donald Trump's going to go after them.
Oh, I think he'll try. I mean, look, the reporting indicates that one of the reasons Gates has this job is because he was talking about going and cutting off heads, for example. So he was not talking about, here's my theory of law enforcement and how we can bring law and order to American streets, much more than I'm just going to go in and I'm going to start attacking people. And so, yeah, I think he'll try. One of the things, though, about a figure like Matt Gaetz, who has zero experience managing a institution of this size, is I think he will be both misguided and incompetent at the same time, both vengeful and incompetent at the same time. And you might say, well, the incompetent part is going to make the vengeful less dangerous. Not necessarily. So, when you're talking about Gates, or Hegseth or others, we have no evidence that they have anything like the competence necessary to run these institutions. But we have a lot of evidence that they have a vengeful kind of ideology. Combine those two things, and that is not a recipe for a well-functioning government, to say the least.
Yeah, and public vows of loyalty to one man and one man alone, Donald Trump.
Right.
David French, it's always great to have you. What an optimistic outlook to start the week off. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Kate.
Linda McMahon is back in the ring. For months, or at least for weeks, definitely I've been reporting she wanted Commerce Secretary, and then Howard basically got the word he was not getting Treasury Secretary, despite Elon Musk backing him. And boom, he gets Commerce, she gets Department of Education. A, she doesn't have experience in it. But B, Trump has made it really, really clear he basically wants to do away with the whole department. So what do we know about this?
Well, the key for both of these is loyalty. I mean, they've been longtime donors and friends of Trump's. Linda McMahon served in Trump's cabinet as the SBA administrator the first term, and they've been leading this transition effort. And I think Trump picked her for education secretary not because she's an expert in education, but because he's confident, 100% confident she would execute his agenda, which includes actually closing that department and enacting a number of conservative policies that would help advance what has been the right-wing agenda on education.
All right, let's talk about Dr. Oz, because this is a TV personality, somebody who has been criticized for promoting claims about health and science that were not true. He lost a key Senate race in Pennsylvania a couple of years ago. Now he is potentially going to be in charge of the health care for more than 160 million people. What's at stake here?
Yeah, for an agency that is in charge of Medicaid and Medicare, impacts a whole lot of seniors, impacts a whole lot of really important voters, I might add, for both parties. And is a Republican ally again, as Phil was saying, a loyalist of Donald Trump. Trump endorsed him in that race for Pennsylvania senator that he lost a couple years ago. He went on and, after he lost, he didn't try to contest the election, so they have a few things that aren't in common there, but he, in terms of health policy, he said he's going to work with RFK Jr. if he gets confirmed, and put together or do the policy that Trump is wanting to do.
I think it's fair to say policy is not a priority for Donald Trump. And while he's getting mocked widely for a lot of his choices coming from TV, right? Half of them come from TV backgrounds. But Trump actually likes that. He sees them as good communicators, telegenic, and they need to connect with people at a time when just yesterday Steve Bannon said the enemy isn't Democrats, the enemy is the media. So isn't he specifically choosing people who can work the media?
Not just work the media, but work public opinion, to try to shape public opinion in service to Trump's agenda. Like, he wants to get stuff done, not because he's a policy nerd, but because he wants to make this sort of lasting change in Washington, to change our institutions, to change the way our democracy functions. When you're talking about the Justice Department, to change really the rule of law and how it interacts in our kind of system of government. And so he wants people who can not just get it done in Washington, but can build support for it publicly around the country.
But isn't that the
through
issue?
Their media.
Yes, they can talk about it. They can shift public opinion. But these are huge jobs with huge responsibilities. Can they actually do the work?
Huge jobs with big numbers of personnel that will report to them. The other thing I wanted to note about that is there's a catch-22 to becoming too big of a star in Trump's orbit. And that's something we certainly learned from Trump 1, that he may be picking people who are good on TV, who are good at connecting with people, but if they get too big, he may not hold on to them for very long.
Let's see, to be good looking, but not too good looking. All right, let's talk about Matt Gaetz and this report, because the House Ethics Committee is set to meet tomorrow to discuss releasing this report. But now there's this hacker who got access to the depositions of 2 potential victims. How does that factor into all of this? Like, what happens here?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is obviously a huge moving target here. It does seem like, irrespective of what happens with the hacked material, which is obviously unclear, that pressure is mounting on the allegations, if not the report, eventually becoming public. I think every credible media outlet in the city is trying to get their hands on this report, and I think there's a pretty decent expectation that the facts, if not the report itself, will eventually be disclosed.
Is this hack a warning, though? Listen, even if you don't release it, welcome to 2024. It's getting out there. So release it by your own volition, or it's going to make its way to the general public.
Maybe, but we think back to when the Trump campaign was hacked earlier this year, right?
Yes.
The hackers got their hands on the J.D. Vance dossier that they had prepared, and there was an effort to shop that hack around to a bunch of media outlets. It did not succeed. Eventually, it got sort of dumped on the internet by a Substacker. But the most credible places turned it down, including Politico and some of the other outlets. But I do think, it's Washington. As the universe of people expands who get access to this information, particularly Congress, people in Congress and staffers in Congress, the odds go up that that information will eventually make its way to the press. There's no guarantees, but you can see the pressure mounting in various respects.
Let's talk different pressure. Pressure on, pressure for, pressure Donald Trump is putting on others to confirm Matt Gaetz, right? Today's reporting, he's now working the phones. He's now all in on Gaetz. This is kind of a surprise, because even a few days ago, it was sort of like, well, Gaetz is the sacrificial lamb. He'll go down to save others, and he'll go run for governor of Florida in a few years. But maybe not. Trump seems to really want this.
He seems to really want it. It's interesting because he's using the political capital that he has to make this happen. We'll see if it actually works and how much political capital he uses. He's got a lot. He's going to talk about the fact that he's not only won the election, but won the popular vote. He feels like he has a mandate. He wants the team that he wants. And yet there's so much opposition to Gaetz that certainly using some of those chits and making some of those calls may end up depleting the well when he needs that capital for something else.
You think he's getting confirmed? They don't need that many Republicans to block it. And Politico just reported today there's a decent amount of Senate Republicans who are like, Matt Gaetz, that's a panhandle too far. Yeah,
and look, the opposition among Senate Republicans is not just because of the allegations in the House Ethics Report. It's because they just don't like the guy. Like, he's the least popular member
awesome point.
of the Hill, and he's alienated so many members of his own party over the years, and they look at him and just see someone who's really a politician in camera, does not have the substance when it comes to law and order and prosecutions and really practicing law that you would normally look for at the head of the Justice Department. And it only takes a few Senate Republicans to say no for Gaetz' nomination to fail. And I would point out there's a lot of time left here. So even though Trump is working the phones, even though J.D. Vance is going to be up on the Hill working with senators to try to get them to support Gaetz, you have week after week after week of more information and allegations to come forward before the senators actually vote on the nomination in January.
All right, now we're going to talk about my favorite cabinet position, because there's much intrigue about Treasury Secretary, right? So Howard Lutnick versus Scott Bessent, in the running. Howard trying to poison Scott last week. Hey, nobody who ever worked for Soros should get this job. Howard basically gets told over the last couple of days, it's not going to be you. Elon Musk does sort of a Hail Mary pass, still doesn't get it. He knocks Linda out of the ring. He's now Commerce Secretary. But oddly, Trump could end up with some really qualified candidates to be Treasury Secretary, right? So you've still got Scott Bessent in the mix, but now you've got Kevin Warsh and you've got Mark Rowan, two hugely successful guys who deeply understand global markets, big business, small business, and the type of guys who might not necessarily be down with executing Trump's extremely inflationary policies.
Robert Lighthizer is circling around there as
well.
well.
He's not getting it.
Okay, fair enough.
No, he's not.
But he's like
Yeah.
circling.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Before we get too far into the Treasury rabbit hole, I think it's interesting about the commerce announcement itself. He talked about this guy will be implementing my trade and tariffs agenda. The tariff piece, of course, is a huge part of President-elect Trump's economic policy. He also said that it was a little unclear. He said that USTR, the U.S. Trade Representative, would also be reporting up through that. So clearly, this may have been a consolation prize. He wanted Treasury, and yet I sort of took that to mean commerce may be even more important in this next Trump go-round than it was the first time.
And what's interesting is, right, so Lutnick did not get Treasury Secretary, even though that's what Elon Musk wanted. Mm-hmm. Elon Musk is still in Lutnick's corner, so you wonder, what is it that Lutnick is going to be overseeing that Musk wants?
Well, commerce oversees so many different arms of the federal government. It's not just about business and the economy, but it's about science. It's about all sorts of other areas in the government. And of course, that intersects with Elon Musk's private interests when you think about space and all of his other businesses.
Good morning. Today is Wednesday. It is November 20th. The year is 2024. It's kind of noisy outside because my yard guy's here and he's been blowing leaves for the past. Y'all, when I tell you these leaves have piled up over here, it rained, it stormed, it's windy out there. When I saw them leaves last night, I was going to go out there and try to blow them, but I don't have the right equipment to do what he's doing right now. He has this machine that kind of rolls along the ground. And there was just no way I was going to be able to get all them wet leaves up. But he's been out there since early this morning. I was laying in bed asleep. And I heard that. I said, let me get on up because I'm not going to be able to sleep with that racket going on. It's going on 10:30 now. He's been out there since 7. And all I've heard was really about 7. All I've heard was this is just a ton of wet leaves out there. So we try to blow the leaves down to the foot of the hill, and, there's no sense to bag them up and do any of that stuff here. We just kind of push them down into a compost pile and let them hang down at the foot of the hill near the creek. And then that's all we can do because, there's just too many of them. I'm bag them up. I ain't doing that shit. I'll blow that shit down the foot of that hill. And it's better for the environment. I sure wish we can blow them damn Trump supporters to the foot of the hill and put them into a compost pile. I'm rather, as Donald Trump had began picking his team, y'all know he ain't picking out one black person. And this is the thing that I think is funny to me, because Donald Trump said he was against DEI, so that meant he ain't hiring nobody black, because that's DEI in his mind. So anybody who's black, you ain't getting hired, because that's like a DEI hiring. But the thing that I still just don't understand, and I'm getting a little bit more clarity. A lot of Trump supporters, like if y'all watch those 2 news articles, they don't watch the news. They don't watch the real news. They don't really know what's going on with Trump and what he has said and stuff he did. But these people that Trump have put on his cabinet, the people that he's hiring for these jobs, Dr. Oz. Yeah, we really need to get a blower and blow them motherfuckers all to the foot of a hill and leave them in a compost pile, because this is ridiculous. But this is what these ignorant motherfuckers voted for. And y'all, every person I met, and I know quite a few people, every single person I met that supported Trump is ignorant as hell. Black, white, it don't even matter. Every single person I met, personally talked to, who supported Trump was dumber than a motherfucker. And that's why we got this ignorant ass motherfucker. So it should be a very interesting 4 years for him hiring, giving positions to unqualified people charged with rape, assault, sexual assault, all kinds of shit. It's kind of like, okay, well, I mean, that's what the people they voted for. So unfortunately, we all got to hold on and ride this roller coaster ride with this ignorant motherfucker. On a side note, a house came up for sale, and I made an offer on the house, full price offer, might I add. Full price offer, what they're asking for the house, which is expensive. The numbers were good though, better than anything I had seen so far. Only buy real estate if based upon the numbers. If the numbers ain't good, I ain't touching it. Meaning, if I'm buying a $900,000 house, it better be worth $1.5 to $2 million. I ain't touching it because it ain't worth it. I ain't just gonna buy a $900,000 house just to have a $900,000 house. What's the purpose of that? I'm not stupid. But anyway, made an offer. White real estate agent, of course, was the listing agent on the house. This cracker, y'all. Same problem I had when I was buying this house. I made a full price offer, just a regular straight up deal. No creative financing, just a regular. These white folks, they are insane in the membrane. That's why I can't stand their asses. And this damn cracker called the lender and asked all these questions, just a million questions. And it just wasn't no cause for calling this person to ask this person this type of questions. Because the transaction was just a straight up transaction. Basically, you can get your cash that you're asking. And then I was closing it in 10 days. So basically, I'm borrowing the money from a private investor. So the money is there. We're closing it. Only thing I am going to do an inspection. Because I was going to skip the inspection at first because I figured shit, they raggedy ass house in that way. But now I am going to do that inspection because I do want to go through this house with a fine-tooth comb. And just to make sure, I just can't stand doing these white folks. They are aggravating as fucking hell. But y'all love them. You love white people. No, why y'all love them motherfuckers? They can't stand y'all black asses. Anyway. Donald Trump ain't hired now one black person. He ain't gonna hire no. He ain't putting out one black person. You know, when he was last in office, he barely put in any black judges. Donald Trump ain't got no respect for no black people. Other than the fact that he just wanted to take advantage of people, just create chaos and confusion and get you dumbasses to vote for him. Y'all just some ignorant motherfuckers. Everybody black that voted for Donald Trump was dumb and stupid. Everybody I met who said they were voting for Trump was some of the dumbest and stupid people I ever met in my entire life. They're just flat out dumb and stupid. He's stupid. But well, what's done is done. So we get to put up with this ignorant ass motherfucker for the next 4 years until somebody take care of his ass in some type of way. Maybe COVID will come back out and bite him in the ass again. We get lucky because COVID come back to life. Funny y'all laughing. But I know many people in the past 2 months who've been hospitalized with COVID. COVID will come get your ass when you least expect it. Excuse me for belching, honey. Yeah, COVID ain't no joke. COVID will come get you. So anyway, I have to. Today gonna be one of them days. My nephew's car at the shop, I picked it up yesterday. He's supposed to come pick it up last night. He didn't. Had me sitting around waiting, looking out the window for his ass to get here. You know, all of a sudden he called me, the storm's too bad, Uncle Walter, I can't make it. Well, nigga, you should have said this 3 hours ago. You know, shouldn't be sitting on the side up here waiting. I could have been took my nap, took the dogs and everything. I'm waiting for you to get here, thinking and then I'm thinking any minute he should be pulling up to this house. And finally I get a phone call, the storm's too bad. Why did you wait? You should. Anyway, so he's supposed to be getting here shortly around noon today, so we can resolve this issue and he can get his car back and we take his rental car back. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I always talk with these young folks. I mean, god damn, let me pick up the phone and say, hey, Uncle Walter, I ain't gonna make it today. That's fine with me. I mean, you the one rushing guy. When I called him yesterday, I said, you just want to come tomorrow? He said, I'm coming tonight. Okay, so I thought that meant I'm getting in my car heading that way right now. 3 hours later, it's storming too bad. Well, what time had you planned on leaving to get over here any damn way? Midnight? You know, my ass is, I gotta go to bed shit. Hell, I saw that storm outside going on out there, raining and shit. I think it might rain today. I'm not too sure. I know it's windy out there. I'm looking at all these, because as he blow them leaves, it's that time of the year to be more leaves. He'll get them again next week. But he done blew a whole shitload of leaves to put in this damn hill. And today is just one of them days. I'm about to cook me some breakfast. Go up and check on Earl, make sure he's still, I don't know what's going on up there with him, but we're going to see. I'm going to go check and see if he wants some breakfast. Because, I don't know what to say about that situation. What can I say? Anyway, it's going to be a short video, but I did want y'all to look at those news reports. It's just shocking. I'm not surprised that Donald Trump hasn't chosen anybody black for his cabinet. Because he views black people being hired as DEI or some type of affirmative action or something. So he don't think black people are intelligent enough to do any of this shit. So he going to hire his own buffoon, ignorant ass, dumb ass white folks, Dr. Oz, and these other crazy people. I'm like, oh boy, this is interesting indeed. But it's what you dumbasses voted for. Ignorant motherfuckers getting what you paid for, basically. I paid what you voted for. Anyway, today is Wednesday, November 20th. The year is 2024. I'm about to cook some breakfast and take care of stuff around here and check on Earl. And that's all I can do. I'm out of here. Let me know what you all's thoughts are about why Donald Trump and his refuses to, why he has not put one black person on his cabinet. And I don't think he is, because he views that as, like I say, DEI or some type of affirmative action or just some bullshit like that. The nigga, the white boy ignorant. He just ignorant. And should never, ever, 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 ever been put back in the White House if you niggas voted for him. So you're going to get what you got coming. Nothing. Nothing good for you, at least. I'm out.